Good morning, friends. I just wanted to talk a little bit about, oh, yes, another talk. But something happened yesterday that when I came back from the boat, my friend had sent me a couple pictures. We had storms coming through here in Ohio, and it didn't last real long, but it rained really hard. So my best friend who lives next door sent me pictures of what happened while I was gone. And I'm going to insert a clip here and show you exactly what happened. Oh dear, we had a bit of a disaster. My Bradford pear broke. We had a storm yesterday that blew through, and I didn't realize it, but this pear tree had a little bit of a rot going on there, and the whole half of the tree came down. So now we got to take this down today, and I certainly have a lot more bright light in my garden, but I have a lot more trees in the back, so it'll be fine. But yeah, this is what I came home to yesterday at the boat. So, one less tree. So we have a little work to do. The tree needs to be taken down. It can't be saved. There's too much damage. And yeah, my life goes on. Maybe I'll put more gardening things here next year. Good thing is it didn't ruin my little bistro set. And this chair just kind of caught the tree. So we'll see what happens after we cut this back this afternoon. So yeah, that's what I came home to. And I planted that Bradford pear tree when I first moved here 17 years ago. And I always liked the tree. I had it trimmed last year because it was just getting way too big. My yard was getting really shady to the point where I couldn't even really grow flowers anymore because it was just too dense of shade. So I like to garden, as you all know, and I moved my vegetable garden over into a little bit sunnier spot last fall, and then this year it's doing great. Anyway, what I wanted to talk about a little bit is when things happen in your life that you have no control over. Um, Now, I know we've all had big disasters in our lives. We don't live to grow old without some bad things happening. And I just wanted to talk about adjusting. And when I have something that happens in my life that throws me a curveball, after I get over the shock of losing whatever I lost or having to readjust my thinking or lifestyle, I try and look at what opportunities does this present to me in my life that I can um, build on, that I can be happy with. So I always try and look at negative things that happen in my life that way. And it helps me to adjust and not be depressed about things and to sort of go on with my own life after something bad happens. So let me give you an example of that. And I know this is not a big disaster, and I'm not even hinting that it is, but I liked my Bradford pear tree, and I'm going to miss it. But now I see an opportunity here too. Okay, so I won't have that much shade in my yard anymore, and I have plenty of trees. I'm all surrounded by trees. I planted myself a little wooded lot when I first moved here because it was just plain, and I didn't like that. So I have plenty of other trees that are a little further away from the house. So what opportunity can I find in losing my Bradford pear tree? Well, I can plant more garden. My flowers will look better, so I can plant some more flowers next year that will survive and thrive. I have a bunch of um, patio furniture in my garage that I used to set up in the garage before I bought this other car, and now I keep this new car in the garage. So I can use some of that furniture now in that area where the tree had lived. So I can use that because I was going to purge my garage furniture anyway. So it'll give me more opportunity to use what I have because I'm not going to go out and buy anything new. And so I look at that as an opportunity. So I can also plant some more veggies back there. And even though I'm going to be missing my Bradford pear tree and I'm sad that I have to take it down, there are things, positive things that I can find that enable me to readjust my life and make it more comfortable and more pleasant for myself. So I guess what I'm trying to say is change, even change that's forced on you, isn't always a bad thing all the time. It can be a positive thing. It can force you to change, to make you live outside of your box, and we all create boxes for ourselves. We get into our comfort zone and we like to stay there, but sometimes that's not possible. And adjusting to change is something that you need to do to be happy. If you don't, you're always going to feel miserable and miss the things that you don't have anymore. So you can always try and replace things that have changed or gotten lost or with something else that's positive that you like and enjoy. Now, of course, I'm not talking about bad things that happen to family members and friends. You know, they're irreplaceable if something bad happens. But some of us have to go on with our life, and you don't want to spend the rest of your life being miserable either. So let me try an example here. Let me think of something good. All right, here's a little analogy that I came up with, and this sort of relates to me. We all have our own definition of what we need to be happy in our life. Um, I love to garden, okay? And let's say that down the road, I can't garden anymore for whatever reason. You know, I become physically disabled or whatever. And, or let's say I have to move into an apartment and I can't garden anymore. I don't have the gardening space. Well, if I really like to garden, I could do a little indoor garden. You could dedicate one room so that all your plants are together, so that you're able to take care of those. You could do that. If you're fortunate enough to have a little balcony, You could make a balcony garden. Um, so you don't have to exactly give it up, but let's say I can't do it at all anymore, for whatever reason. That time that I've gained now is time that I can either choose to spend it sitting in a chair and thinking about the things that I can't do anymore, or I can take that opportunity to say, okay, I can't garden anymore. What have I always wanted to do that I didn't have the time to do when my garden took up all my time? And let's say, for example, I always wanted to paint. I wanted to learn how to paint. Okay, so you can learn how to paint. You can go to the library and get books for free. I'm sure they have DVDs on painting. If you have the internet, which I'm sure you do if you're listening to me, um, you can go on YouTube. There's Bob Ross. You can learn to paint from him. There's Kevin Hill. You can learn to paint from him. You don't have to spend a lot of money on paints. You can go to the Dollar Tree. They have a craft section now where you can get acrylic paints and learn how to mix your own paints, mix your own colors. I know if you're into oil painting like I am, some of the colors can be very expensive, but if you're into acrylic painting, which is actually easier, there's ways you can do it. So replace what you've lost with something that you will love in the present and in the future. And I really think that's one of the big keys to happiness is just adjusting and adjusting in a way that you can be happy without totally missing what you've lost. Some things that we've lost, we will always miss. An example of that is my little dog, Allie. She was my soul dog. I loved that dog. I mean, she and we clicked from the moment I saw her. We locked eyes, and it was like, Mom, oh, and there's my baby, so that's the kind of relationship we had. I never had to yell at the dog to behave or anything like that. And when she died, it was really, really devastating to me. So before I knew she was getting older, and I knew she was diabetic, and I had to give her insulin shots for 4 years, and I kept her alive and healthy as long as I could. But I knew that my time with her was coming to an end. So I didn't want to come home to a empty house where nobody was greeting me or was happy that I was home. And some people, they're fine with that. And that's great. It gives you a lot of freedom if you can adjust that way. If you lose your dog, you can start traveling. You don't have to worry about going home and letting them out to go potty. Um, so in that regard, it does give you more freedom. And like I said, I'm just using this as an example. But what I did was I went out and I adopted 3 puppies. First of all, it kind of perked her up a little bit. It gave me something to focus on besides her health issues. And when she did pass away, even though it was really, really hard, I had already had my other 3 dogs for about a year, and it made her passing a little bit easier. So sometimes planning ahead a little bit when you know you're going to have a devastating change in the future um, just helps a little bit. It doesn't necessarily take the hurt away or the pain away, but preparing yourself and having a plan okay, when this happens, then I'm going to try this or do this. And I'm just letting you know what's worked for me. And that's like, even here's another example. Okay, I'm getting older. I can't stop that. The only way I'm going to stop that is if I stop living. And I don't want to do that, so, but I have to adjust to that. I have to adjust to getting older. So, what can I do about that? All right, if I don't like the way my body is looking, all right, I can find exercises that are good for my body. Um, I can do yoga, or I can do Tai Chi, or whatever I'm comfortable with. And if I have the strength and the ability, I can do some weightlifting, light weights. Um, there's plenty of information out there. You can go onto the arthritis site, and if you have arthritis, they can give you safe exercises for you to do. So I could do that. All right. My hair is getting gray. I have the gray hair saga going on. All right. I've colored my hair for years because I like it lighter. So with my hair going gray, it's getting lighter on its own. So I can look at it that way. I don't want to color it anymore because I don't want to take the time. It'll free up time that I don't need to go color it. And so I try and find the positive things in situations that are not good or bad. So that's just my take on it. So as you're growing older and things are happening in your life that you have no control over, that make you sad, there's nothing wrong with replacing it with things that are pleasant and make you happy. Don't get stuck. Don't get stuck in the past. Don't get stuck in the situation you're in without trying to help yourself be happy. Okay? All right. That's all I wanted to talk about. And when I lost my pear tree, it kind of triggered another episode of, okay, now what? You know. So, anyway, that's all I have for you today. I want to wish you abundant blessings. I love you guys. Be happy. I will see you next time.